Yo, what's up, YouTube? I just got home from work. It's fucking 11 o'clock at night, finishing a painting job. So if you guys don't know, on the side, I do a lot of painting work. It's like kind of like contract work for painting. You guys don't care about that. You guys aren't here for painting. But reason for me busting out this camera, making this video right now, my buddy called me, and my buddy has been trying to get into the gym and start his journey, right, for a while now. And it's like every time he kind of like ramps back up, he always hits me up and he's like, bro, I'm getting back into it. He's like, I'm doing this right now. Do you think I should change this? Do you think I should change that? And I'm like, bro, this time more than ever, I told him, I was like, bro, let's take a step back. And like, there's a reason you keep restarting over and over and over again, right? It's been like, he's been doing this for like 3 years off and on. So I told him, I was like, bro, let's really take a step back and evaluate what the reasoning is for you always restarting, right? Let's figure that out before we worry about just jumping right back into a new routine, because that doesn't make sense, because that's not really the issue. The routine, all this fuzz is flying around in my car. I must have a dirty ass car, I guess. I don't know. But obviously the routine isn't the issue because you keep restarting. So let's figure out why you keep restarting. So it just kind of got me thinking, because I was chatting with him for my whole ride home. It was like a 40-minute ride home. I was on the phone with him for like 40, 45 minutes. And we were talking about this. And I just basically told him, like, let's start from square one. Forget everything you've done in the past, everything you've tried in the past. None of that shit matters. We're starting fresh. And this is going to be the last fucking time that we start fresh. Because if you guys don't know, if you guys don't follow me over on Instagram, if you don't, make sure you are at bigmitch.fit. I talk about it all the time, how I failed and restarted so many times, and that's just demoralizing. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, run into the same issue and eventually get to the point where they don't want to try anymore. And then that's when things really go downhill and they just never get better. It's sad to think about, and it's true. It really is true. It's the reality for a lot of people. And this is my guy. Like I said, I've known him since we were kids. And I don't want to see him go down that hole that I was so close to going down. And like I said, I failed so many times, kept restarting, and then eventually one of my attempts just clicked. I figured things out. I don't know if I wanted it more that time around or what. I couldn't even really tell you. But all I can say is that it finally clicked. And he knows that, so that's why he always comes to me. So I was telling him, I said, let's start from square one. I want to know your schedule. I want to know what you eat on a day-to-day basis right now on a normal day. Regardless of if you're trying to eat healthy or what, if you're just intuitively eating, whatever you're doing, what does your normal day of eating look like? What does your normal exercise routine look like on a weekly basis, not a daily basis, because not everybody exercises or goes to the gym every day, right? But on a week-to-week basis, and on an average day of eating on like more of a daily basis for the eating, right? And then we start from there. And I think this is where everybody should start. If you're overweight and you know you got weight to lose, don't jump into some crazy workout routine, some crazy meal plan. Start by making minor adjustments, because you'd be surprised. You would be fucking so surprised at how much of an impact some of these small adjustments could make in the long term. Like, you might make a couple small adjustments to the point, so small of adjustments to the point where it doesn't even feel like you're doing anything differently in terms of your daily eating, your daily exercise, weekly exercise. But all of a sudden the weight starts slowly coming off. You're like, fuck, I'm not even really doing anything differently. I'm doing the same shit I was doing before. It seems that way, but technically numbers are a little bit different. We adjust the numbers a little bit by making small adjustments. And this is where a lot of people just don't understand the simplicity of all of it. And that's where coaches like me come in. So we were going over his daily eating, his day-to-day eating, his weekly, week-to-week workout routine, and figuring out where he can be more efficient. Where are you wasting calories maybe? Where are you eating when you might be able to move a meal back? Or maybe you're eating some shit that is just like empty calories, right? Empty calories, where we could replace that with something that's higher in volume. Maybe you're drinking, if someone, for example, is like, say someone's weighs 270 pounds and they want to get down to 200 pounds. and you're just eating like, you're not overeating like crazy, and maybe you're not gaining any more weight, but you're just kind of staying the same every day. So say your maintenance is like 2,700 calories and you're eating 2,700 calories on the dot every day, but you don't know it because you're not tracking your food. Like, and maybe say out of those 2,700 calories, maybe 300 or 400 of them are coming from like liquids. We could create a 300-400 calorie deficit just off of you getting rid of those liquid calories, which are by far the easiest calories to eliminate. By far the easiest calories to eliminate. If you disagree, then you're wrong. You're wrong. So, that's always my biggest step one with anybody, because like if anybody is drinking any liquid calories other than like a coffee with maybe some cream and a sugar or something like that in it, even that we can replace it with like a Splenda or something, or replace some of the calories. But other than that, like if you're drinking full sugar sodas, juices, or anything like that, that's usually step one. And usually there's some kind of other thing that's in somebody's diet that there is a much better alternative for. There's always a better alternative to something that somebody's eating. And making 2 or 3 alternative swaps can literally save you 400, 500, 600 calories on a daily basis. And like I said, to the point where you're basically eating and drinking the same shit every day. But now all of a sudden you just eliminated 500, 600 calories from your daily intake. And now you can literally just keep doing that and start losing weight. It really is that simple. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise you it can be that simple. And a lot of it just goes into understand. Like I said, it comes down to tracking for a long period of time, to understanding what foods make sense to use calories on, what foods don't make sense. When are my carbs more necessary? When are my proteins more necessary? When are my healthy fats more necessary? There's obviously a lot of nuance that goes into it. If you guys want to understand more of that nuance, I highly recommend you checking out the first video I ever put on this YouTube channel. It's like a 49-minute video. It's a long video, but there's a lot of free game in there, a lot of free game. If you guys want more free game, like I said, check me out on Instagram. I drop multiple pieces of free game every single day on there, literally every single day, on my story, on my reels, everything. So check me out on Instagram. Check out that first YouTube video I posted. And yeah, from there, so that's just us going over his nutrition, because obviously I'm somebody who truly believes that nutrition is really everything when it comes to this. It doesn't matter how good your workouts are, how consistent you are with your cardio, if your nutrition is not up to a certain par. I truly believe that, and I will live and die on that fucking hill, that is the most important piece to this puzzle. It's literally like 70-75% of this puzzle of bodybuilding, getting in shape, building muscle, burning fat. All those things come down to mostly nutrition, the things that you're putting in your body. Your body is literally made up of the things that you put inside of it. It makes sense. And it's crazy that so many people like don't even think about it. Like, it doesn't make sense to some people, because when you really stop and think about it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, no shit. The things I put in my body is what creates my body. My body like forms based off of the types of fuel that I'm putting into it. It really does make so much sense. Like, once you just kind of like really develop a better understanding of it. I'm not saying anybody's dumb for not understanding it, because I didn't understand it. But eventually, once you do understand it, it makes this whole process seem so much more simple. It really does. So that was just the nutritional side of things. And then we started discussing his workout routine. We discussed his split, the types of things he's doing inside of the gym, how he's going about it, how he's recovering off of everything. And we found, like I said, a couple minor adjustments we could make just to make his overall workout routine more efficient. We found he kind of had junk volume in a couple areas that he was implementing that was unnecessary. And so we kind of eliminated some of that. So that's just only going to save him time in the gym. He's going to make more results in less time after us having that quick 40-minute call. As long as he does the things that we talked about, it doesn't restart again. As long as he actually does these things, he's literally going to be able to make more progress in less time now going forward, which I know he'll be grateful for. I know he works his ass off. He works a ton of hours. And I think that's a big part of why he kind of always falls back. It's because it's hard. It can be hard when you're working a shit ton of hours. But that's why it's so important to have a good system in place with your routine and your nutrition, to where everything can be efficient. Everything. That's why I always talk about it in that 49-minute video a lot, is how, like, my biggest thing that I preach a lot is, one, sustainability, being able to implement things that are going to last a lifetime, things that you're going to be able to continue to do and implement throughout the rest of your life, regardless of how many hours you work, how many kids you got, all that stuff. Like, so things that are going to be sustainable and allow you to continue to make progress years and years down the line, regardless of what life throws at you. So sustainability and efficiency, and they kind of go hand in hand, because the more efficient your system is, your overall system is, the more sustainable it's going to be, because it's just going to be naturally easier for you to accomplish the things that you're trying to accomplish when it's efficient and it's sustainable. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you guys listening to this and watching. So we went over his routine, and like I said, dialed everything in to the point where, to make sure he wasn't wasting any time with what he was trying to do in the gym. He wasn't doing any unnecessary cardio, because I know a big part of his goal is losing weight. He wants to put on muscle too, but he knows he's got a good amount of weight to lose. So that should always be, if you got a certain amount of weight to lose, like, that's like the bigger issue is the weight. Like, that should always be your main focal point. And that's why, but like I said, I preach this a lot on my Instagram, because my transformation kind of resembles this pretty well. I talk a lot about how even when my goal was to lose weight, I was still following an efficient, it wasn't as efficient as it is now, because I know a lot more now than I did back then, but I was following a decent like lifting routine, even though I was in a calorie deficit for a long period of time. And I actually, by the time I lost all the weight, I had some decent newbie gains that were just on my frame once all the weight came off. And I guarantee you those weren't there. Those wouldn't have been there had I not been lifting consistently throughout me following that calorie deficit. I guarantee it. But that's where like nutrition becomes more of like a thing that you need to be more specific with. Like, it's not just like, okay, just hit my macros, hit my calories, be in a calorie deficit, hit my protein, like, okay, I'll be good. That's where you want, because when you're in a calorie deficit and you're limiting certain macros, you're limiting certain carbs. Mostly carbs is what gets limited the most when you're following a calorie deficit, because healthy fats, you need a certain amount of healthy fats, a bare minimum, to keep your hormones regulated, keep your hormones healthy. So we got to get at least an X amount of healthy fats, usually 40 to 50 grams for most people, depending on your size. Protein, obviously, I believe in the 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, per pound of lean body weight. Obviously, if you're like 400 pounds over and you're overweight, you don't need to eat 400 grams of protein. But so if you're 400 pounds, assuming, say you're like 6 foot, 400 pounds, you probably need to only be eating like 180, maybe 200 grams of protein on the higher end. Like, most of you don't need to eat more than 200 grams of protein. I'm 6'5", 220 pounds at the moment, and I eat no more than 200 grams of protein a day. And I'm a bigger guy, so just to put it into perspective for you guys, you probably don't need as much protein as you think. And that's where a lot of people are afraid of carbs, but implementing carbs at the right times and the right types of carbs, high quality carbs, is what's going to make you getting through the cut and still being able to survive and lift consistently so much damn easier when you're getting in quality carbs at the right times in order to help fuel your day properly, fuel your workout, so you can still push yourself inside of the gym even though you're in a calorie deficit. Because that's what's hard for a lot of people, is consistently showing up to the gym even when you're in a calorie deficit, because your body's depleted of food. So it's a lot easier for you to get more tired and just overall less motivated when you're eating less food. But if you're implementing your carbs properly and implementing the right carbs at the right times properly, that's when your like performance can be a game changer even while you're in a calorie deficit. And like I said, there's a lot of nuance that goes into that as well. I believe I talk about that a little bit in that 49-minute video as well. So again, I know I keep talking about that. If you haven't watched it, if you guys are watching this, you're watching it for a reason, I'm assuming. So you'll probably get even more value out of that 49-minute video. So that's why I keep telling you about that. But other than that, guys, it was something that was kind of on my head, because it was a deep, a vulnerable conversation between him and I, because like I said, this is like his third or fourth time coming back to me, restarting. I asked him before we got off the phone, I was like, you care if I kind of make like a little video about this? He's like, go for it. I was like, okay. Because it was something I really wanted to talk about, because I think his situation is so relatable to so many people. It's relatable to me, in my past. So, like I said, it's something that I think deserved to be talked about, because I think that simple conversation that me and him had on the phone, I think so many of you guys watching this hopefully can benefit from. So I just wanted to kind of relay that conversation that we had to you guys, and I hope you can pick up some kind of helpful piece of advice from it. And again, like I said, if you want more advice or anything else, like I said, go watch that 49-minute video. I forget the exact title of it, but I only have a couple of videos up, so it's the longest video I have. It's about 49 minutes. Go watch that, give it a watch, get a notepad ready, take notes on it, do whatever you got to do. And if you're not already, follow me on Instagram at bigmitch.fit. And yeah, I hope to catch you guys on the next one. I want to make more of these. I really do. It's something that is a big goal of mine. So I'm going to keep trying to push these out to you guys. Like I said, I hope you found this helpful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.